Welcome to Fort Worth 148's podcast, where we meet to discuss Masonic topics and strive to build value in the brotherhood. The opinions and statements of the participants do not represent any positions or stance of any Grand Lodge or Lodge and are solely the viewpoints of the participants. Welcome back, everybody, to Fort Worth 148's podcast. This is Rhit Moore, past master and current secretary of Fort Worth 148.
This is Grant Gates, Master Mason, Fort Worth 148, current Tyler.
This is Gabriel Jagush, Master Mason of Fort Worth 148.
Welcome back, bros. We're getting pretty consistent.
Excellent.
Yeah. Happy Wednesday evening or Thursday morning to our listeners.
Yeah. That for most everybody, Thursday morning, once they get around.
Yeah, exactly. No, things have been growing good. I've just surprised every week more and more by the podcast. I mean, the last podcast has the least amount of downloads. I think it's up to 119. So breaking 100 on absolutely breaking 100 on each podcast is a milestone. We're about to break 400, or was it 500 with the Guarding the West Gate? We're in 20 different countries. I mean, it's just like, wow. There needs to be more of these things out there.
We're going to get too big for our britches soon.
You got it. Yeah. It has definitely been fun so far. So we'll see if we can keep it up.
Absolutely.
Enjoying every minute, guys. Enjoying every minute.
So we have a guest today, right?
Yes, we do.
Omar, introduce yourself. Let us know. Tell us about yourself.
Omar Galiazzi, the newest raised Master Mason for Fort Worth 148.
All right. Yeah, absolutely.
He's
Omar,
brand new.
Looking forward to talking to you tonight.
Yeah, it's good to have you on, Omar. We're going to have him tell his story here in just a little bit, and it'll go right along in line with our subject matter this evening.
And our subject matter this evening is membership and retention. But first, news. So, in the temple, on April 15th, we had the commandery orders in the temple. They were great. I had fun. On the 17th, and more importantly, we had Omar's Master Mason's degree, and it was great. So, I enjoyed it, and I think he enjoyed it too. That's the important part, actually.
No, that was one of the more fun degrees I've been a part of in a long time. Everybody you could feel it. They were giving their all,
That was a special sort of, I don't know, I feel like there was a little bit of improvisation when parts were forgotten and mistakes were made, but I feel like everybody was on point for that one in terms of just keeping the flow going and making it just immersive.
And that's a good point, because I talked to the brother afterwards, or my dad did, and he got a little stage fright, which is okay. That's going to happen in degrees. He already said, I'm going to be more prepared for next time. Good man, getting better.
And so then, for the part that I was playing, one of my, what do you call it? I guess compatriots, or one of my companions, shall we say, was on the wrong side of the room at one point. He went and sat down. It was great. And I did too. I sat down as well, because I forgot that we were all supposed to stand up. So we all just kind of dispersed. And I was like, wait a minute. We're supposed to be somewhere. Oh, wait, we're supposed to be over there. So we all ran back to the spot.
I'm sorry I missed that one, guys. Now, I did get a lovely view of traffic on 121. It was just like this fantastic line of cars all sitting together in sync. Just this beautiful tapestry of people cutting each other off and talking on their cell phones and doing general very, very terrible things in traffic. So that was my evening. And again, Omar, sorry.
It was a good evening. Real good degree. Looking forward to getting better and better at it.
So tonight, this Wednesday, I guess for y'all listeners that are listening to it in the morning of Thursday, last night, but anyway, April 19th, we are celebrating the birthday of Brother Sam Levacy, who is a past master of Fort Worth Lodge, and he turned 100 years old today. So we want to wish him our congratulations and the best of luck in his upcoming year as worshipful master. It's River Oaks Lodge 1311, right? That he's going to be worship.
Yes. So we'll have details coming for that installation.
Which, that's cool. To be sitting master at the age of 100.
Yes, and he's sharp as a tack. Yeah, so don't think it's like some pity case. Oh, he's 100. We're going to put him up there and help him through his work. No. This guy knows his stuff.
Yeah,
Sam is a
he still regularly leads degree practices. So
yeah,
man,
a lot of fun to be around.
Sam's great. Yeah, we love having Sam around, and could not be more thankful for Sam and his leadership in our lodge and around the district. Everything he does for us.
Mm-hmm. So on the national stage, the Illinois Masonic Children's Home in LaGrange, Illinois, is closing. Due to policies that focus more on keeping families together, which is a good thing, a lot of orphanages and homes and other establishments of that sort have not been needed as much because there's not as big of a need to house kids in a separate house or a separate institution because more families are being kept together by state policies, that kind of thing. And the children's home in LaGrange has been no exception to that. There's another home in Murfreesboro that is also run by the Illinois Masonic Children's Home Corporation, I think is what they are, the group that runs them. That one is also closing, and a social services agent will be buying the Murfreesboro home to provide housing and care for the kids that still live there. There's like 16 kids that still live there. If you want to learn more, you can find the story on the Chicago Tribune website. Also on the national stage, the Grand Lodge of Virginia has arrested the charter of Alexandria Washington Lodge number 22. And this happened.
That's an old lodge.
It's one of the oldest in the States. They meet in the George Washington Masonic Memorial, I think.
That'd have to be one of the oldest in the country, if it's one of the oldest in that state.
Oh, absolutely. Let me see. Let's see.
Wow. I saw something briefly.
Founded in February 1783. They are old.
That's no small charter to go get. Oh, my goodness.
But, yeah, so the Grand Master showed up with a bunch of other Grand Officers in person, and they seized the charter. And I don't think anybody's under charges or anything like that, but the charter itself has been seized. And most of the commentary from those in the know seems to indicate that the Grand Lodge of Virginia is not overstepping their bounds by doing this. They are taking responsive actions that are within reason to actions that were taken by that lodge. So I don't know what those are because that's their business and everything like that, but apparently it's not without reason. And Brother Chris Hodap posted this story on his blog, freemasonsfordummies.blogspot.com, and he also reminds brothers in Virginia to be aware of the very strict online communications policy that the Grand Lodge of Virginia enforces. So, if you are under the jurisdiction of the Grand Lodge of Virginia and you want to discuss the subject, please be advised and keep your Masonic-related communications that happen online in format that is pleasing to the Grand Lodge of Virginia, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's something else. I wish them the best, but, that's a lesson to all of us. Follow your rules and laws. I mean, that's what they're there for. Even if you don't agree with them, there's ways to change them down the road, but, you got to have a charter to do that. They met in the memorial, George Washington Memorial, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes, they do. Or they did, I guess. The George Washington Masonic National Memorial. And as one of our live listeners, Brother Billy, has pointed out, Brother George Washington, the president, was the charter master of the lodge. So, But that's why they're Alexandria Washington Lodge, because when they were first chartered, they were just Alexandria Lodge. And after Brother Washington passed, they were renamed Alexandria Washington in his honor.
Well, and if it works like here, you get your charter arrested, then you go to Grand Lodge and make your case, and what we call the Grand West, the voting members of Grand Lodge decides whether you keep that charter or not. So hopefully they can get themselves together.
Hopefully, it'd be a shame for something like that to lead to the disbandment of such a historic, institution, I guess,
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
In news abroad, the Sky One documentary has aired. For those of you that don't know, the BBC worked together, or not, was it BBC? I guess Sky One worked together with the United Grand Lodge of England to put together a documentary on Masonic stuff. It's like a 5-part series. Each episode is an hour long. And according to one of the users on the Freemasonry subreddit, Raider Wesh, the degrees were not filmed But they did touch on Grand Lodge quarterly meetings, and they did show footage of a candidate being prepared for a degree. But this is just episode 1, so we still have to see what remains to be covered by that. So initially, I think there was a lot of panic among people saying, oh my gosh, they're filming degrees and things like that. And there was a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And hopefully, none of that ends up being the case. But
no, and as I learned in the last podcast, it's not a clandestine lodge doing it. It's UGLE. So I tried to look up how to watch it, but I don't know that we get it here. We maybe have to find it online or something.
There is a... Where did I put that?
I think almost anything available on BBC you can catch on Hulu. I don't know if they've posted it on Hulu to date, but a lot of times you can catch if it's a BBC program, there's a chance you could catch it on Hulu. I'm sure someone's posted it on YouTube.
Yeah. So this is actually a question that was asked. Is there any way for us in the U.S. to watch the Sky One documentary? And there was a couple of... Because, it's region locked, right? So somebody said, I would never use a VPN like Viper VPN to obtain remote endpoints to exploit and bypass region filtering. So there's that. But, yeah, so if you're region locked, maybe try a VPN or something like that. So, I don't know.
Sky.com is actually the TV channel, and I'm going through it right now. You can watch quite a bit on this. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Search Mason. And it's not up yet on Sky.com, so maybe it will be soon.
Yeah, we'll have to look through that and see, because they'll have some way for us to get a hold of that eventually. I think it's like Omar said, it's going to be on DVD, even if we got to buy it and watch it as a lodge thing.
Yeah, actually, that would be a fun sort of get together.
Yeah,
but we'll see how that goes. I think one of the posts that I saw on Facebook said that they did the grand honors on videotape, but I'm not sure if that's actually or not because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, we'll have to watch it and see. It'll be interesting.
I think some of our live listeners are saying we should have a lodge movie night. That sounds fantastic. Should definitely do that. That would be fun.
Right on.
Who has the biggest TV?
Oh, we got the projector. Oh. We've got one. The lodge does. We'll just set up a big sheet in my backyard and pop popcorn.
I'll bring these.
Right on. So I've got a question. Ring or no ring? For just personal preference. Like not, should everyone wear one or should everyone not wear one? But well, the ring is not so much a hot topic as bumper stickers and things, but I don't even wear a wedding ring, so I don't wear a Masonic ring either. I just don't do jewelry. You don't do jewelry?
Yeah, I have one though, so I can't say that I wouldn't.
Right on.
I don't have any qualms one way or other. I think rings are that's a cool addition to the whole journey.
My ring has a bit of a story behind it. So my dad, who's a Mason with 148, actually had a ring made to match his Master Mason's ring. So our rings actually match each other. And it's my understanding that his was fashioned after his father's. His father died when he was young and wasn't there for him to be raised, but his ring was fashioned after his father's, which was stolen from their house before he was raised, but it was fashioned, from memory after his dad's ring. So for me, my Master Mason's ring has kind of a family aspect to it. Now, it's a very nice ring. It's a lot nicer than anything I would have ever bought for myself. So I try not to wear it when I'm working. And I have a very cheap Amazon ring that I wear when I'm working out in the field and on roofs and doing all the crazy things I do. That is, I think I paid $3 for it because it had been returned. It was the wrong size, and it has a square and compass and 2 cable toes on. It's made out of titanium, but I'm definitely if I leave the house without, my class ring and my wedding band, I feel naked all day. So I'm on board with wearing a ring. But I particularly cherish the ring that my dad got for me. So
that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I know my dad wears his dad's Masonic ring.
That's pretty cool.
And one day, me and my dad have talked about, if I have a son that we raise to be a Mason, and hopefully we do that in 148, he would like my son to wear his ring, and then start passing them down the family line. Would be is kind of the long-term master plan on that is to try to pass them down as long as possible.
Yeah, I think they're a great thing. So ring on for sure.
Yeah. And I'm very fond of jewelry. I wear my Aggie ring and the Mason's ring, and then I've got a pinky ring. So my dad says I'm way too flashy.
Well, I work around equipment, and rings don't cooperate with equipment.
I like the ring layout that most worshipful Kirby uses. Our Grandmaster here in Texas has been the grand head of each of the 4 York Rite bodies in Texas. And so he's got a grand past high priest ring and a grand past most illustrious ring. And he's got a Grandmaster's ring, and he's also got a past most eminent commander ring. And then he's also got a 33rd degree ring, and he's got a York Rite College, I can't remember what it is, Purple Cross ring, I think that's what it's called. But he wears all 6 of them, which I think is just great. It looks super cool. So
it's like, I pity the fool. That's like Mr. T.
Yeah, but like the Masonic version. So, but it's really cool though, because when he makes, like, when he gestures with his hands when he talks, like, it catches your eyes. So, but it was kind of cool though, because the first time I met him, I was like, oh man, what are those? And he just told me about his involvement in York Rite and everything like that. And that's one of the reasons why I ended up getting involved in York Rite, because I know that there's at least one guy out there that is so passionate about York Rite that he went and became the grand head of all of them, which is just cool,
Yeah, he's a stellar guy.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
I like him a lot. But moving on to the main content of the episode, let's talk about this. We're talking about membership and retention tonight, right, Rhit?
That's what we decided on. And, it kind of goes in line with a few things we've talked about in the past, but I think retention is something a little more specific that we can address because I think it gets swept under the rug. We talk about membership all the time. How do we get new members in? But we don't talk about how to retain the ones we've got. And for me, that's the most important aspect, because most of us have a lot of members on the lodge rolls that aren't active, that probably would be if things were going on at lodge that they found interesting.
And they knew about them. And that's something we'll talk about too, is, keeping everyone in the loop has a big part to do with it.
You got it.
Absolutely.
So that's one reason we brought Brother Omar on tonight, was to kind of share his story. And Omar has not had the typical path, and is really a great story on how to keep guys involved as life gets thrown at them. So, Omar, are you there?
I'm here.
Back at it.
Right on. So tell us a little bit about your journey to the master's degree. I guess from EA, or I guess from before to now.
Okay, so I got out of the military, moved back to Texas, ended up working at a warehouse where the worshipful master of Julian Fields, Michael Moore, was there. And I noticed he had a Masonic tattoo, so struck up a conversation with him. And he just told me, this is where my lodge is. There's 4 other lodges there. Just go find the one that fits you the best. So I ended up finding Fort Worth 148, wrote the lodge. Rhit ended up writing me back and was like, we meet on Mondays. Come up, check us out, see what we're all about. And I believe I started coming up there in May of 2015. Ended up getting a petition. I was initiated August 24th, 2015. Started learning the work, and Labor Day 2015, I was laid off from the oil field. So started looking for a job, And then it got to a point where I was unemployed for 3 months where I just could not make it up to Lodge. It came down to I needed to find a job. So I went up to Lodge, told all the guys like, hey, sorry, I've been laid off for a while, but, I need to put 100% focus into finding a job. And everybody was genuinely sad to see me leave, but everybody understood the reasons why. And they were like, this is your home. You're always welcome back. As soon as you get back up on your feet, come back up here. So ended up finding a job, but I ended up getting put on second shift. So I ended up working 2 to 10 at night. So I ended up missing pretty much a whole year of not being able to go to Lodge just because of work schedule. But lucky enough for me, our Lodge is very active, and we would meet on weekends and, just different times of the day. So anything that happened on a weekend, I would show up just so I could have that sense of brotherhood and just to let the guys know I was still interested in coming up there. And every time everybody saw me, they would welcome me with open arms, and they were just happy to see me. And that just kept me going, knowing the fact that, these brothers, they genuinely had love for you and they welcomed you back, and they were just happy that you were around. And that was the very first impression I got. As soon as I got off that elevator and walked into that door, I felt like I was at home. So that's kind of what kept me going. Finally, after fighting with my bosses for a year, I finally talked them into giving me Monday off, and I started coming back up there. I believe it was this January, 2017, where I was officially I was up there every single Monday. And, I walked in, and even though, we had new brothers and, new people that I haven't met, it was like I'd never left. It was just like I came back in and stepped right in. Nothing had changed. Masonry's been around for 300 plus years, but it was all the same. You just you step back into the role, and you kind of really don't forget. And then I ended up studying and learning the EA work. Then got passed to the degree of Fellowcraft, knocked out that, and then ended up getting raised as a Mason. This past Monday. But I really think what kept me coming back was that very first impression. When I got up there, everybody was so welcoming and made me feel like, this was my second home. And then just the fact of, even though I wasn't going up to Lodge, I still had, Rhit and Will, Mark, Sean, Nick, Ben, people would write me on Facebook. They would just call me out of the blue. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? How's life? We miss you up at Lodge, but, we understand you can't make it up here. People would still keep me informed of, what was going on, and, any new stuff or, the events that we were having. Hey, we're having an event this Saturday, this is the time. If you can make it up there, make it up there. So I guess that's kind of what really helped me come back and wanted to get more involved and, get it knocked out was that people, it was a group that genuinely cared about you, and they wanted you to be, a part of it when time allowed. And I think that was like one of the first things that, Billy taught me was, Masonry is the last thing you should worry about. Masonry was here before us, and Masonry will be here after us. So, it's your family, it's God, it's, everything else in your life comes first. And then, Masonry will always be there for you. And I got shown that at a very early part of my Masonic career that's very true. That, Masonry was there when, I was back up on my feet and, I could show back up like I wanted to. And it was there. I stepped right back in, and, I was welcomed back by all the brothers. And it was a great experience to have been gone for a year and then show back up. And it was like you were never gone.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point that, because we all have things come up in our lives and we can't be there maybe for extended period like you had, or maybe a Monday or two in a row. And we shouldn't be made to feel guilty for not showing up. I don't care what position you hold in Lodge. Nothing comes before your family, and whether it be extended period or short periods, we should feel like we have the right to not be there. Even if a degree has to be canceled, something at stated meeting has to be postponed, because nobody wants to feel guilty,
Yeah. The only exception that I would make to that would probably be to say, if you are in the group of principal officers and you are not showing up a lot, then maybe a little bit of guilt tripping is in order. Not a lot, but a little.
Yeah. Well, there should always be brotherly ribbing, no doubt about it. But, things happen. Things happen. Jobs change. If you got a promotion that you're going to accept and you've been worshipful master for 2 years and that means you're not going to be there on Mondays, you don't turn down a promotion. Your brothers step up to the plate for you and you run through the chairs again some other year. But if it is just, the guy's not coming because the ball game's on or something, well, yeah, you should give him a hard time.
Right.
Right. So
I kind of think it goes to show what a great impression that we give the new candidates, because last Monday, one of the guys just out of the blue just shows up and he's like, "Hey, Omar," and I kind of look at him. I'm like, "All right, you look familiar, but I can't place the name. And I know I've been gone for a while." And he's like, "It's Angel." And I'm like, "Angel," I'm like, "What happened to you?" Because he was coming up there for a couple of months and then he kind of just disappeared out of the blue. And he ended up getting accepted into grad school. But now that his schoolwork is slowing down, he's showing back up. So, I mean, obviously we're making a great impression where even if something comes up in these guys' life, once it slows down, they're willing to come back up there to be a part of it. So I think we're doing a great job in that.
So, and that goes to, guys see you caring about each other and for lack of a better word, loving on each other, really using your working tools and being somebody's friend, man, it makes an impression. And if you have a candidate or an EA that has something come up and they come back and all they get is, "Man, why haven't you been here?" And you start grilling them, man, they're not going to want to come back. But if you keep in touch with them and you're reaching out to them and keeping with them on social media, which makes it so easy to keep up with people, and keep them informed on what's going on. I think you do leave a good impression on them.
Yeah, the way I look at it, the most intrusive you should get is, "Hey, how have you been doing?" When it comes to, in terms of, it's perfectly valid to inquire as to why somebody hasn't been to lodge, but you have to do it in a non-intrusive way. So you're going to want to ask them stuff like, "How are you? How have you been? How's work? How's your family?" That kind of thing. You don't actually ask them, "Why haven't you been to lodge?" You show personal interest in them. A, because you should be showing personal interest in them, and then B, because it doesn't put them on edge.
Yeah.
And show that you care. If there's something wrong that you want to help, if there's something going on that you can lend a hand with, either as an individual or as a lodge, that you're willing to do that. Rather than it being a interrogation session, have it be more of a, "Hey, listen, we care about you. Is there something going on that you need to get off your chest? Is there something you need to talk about, or is there something we can do to ease the burden that you're carrying?" So
no, we're all volunteers, so you got to treat them as such. These are your friends, not your employees. I don't care what position you hold, even if you're worshipful master. Those are your buddies. So they don't need the third degree.
They already had it.
You got it. They'll get it soon enough, one way or another, from somebody else besides their brother. So, just be there to support them. And so, Omar, I had a couple questions. During that whole process of your year of not being able to come to lodge a whole lot, what was your main point of contact with the brothers at lodge?
Social media and them just calling me, reaching out. But a lot of it was just kind of, posting stuff like, "Hey, we're doing a barbecue here," or, "We're meeting, at this place for, cigars," or, "If anybody wants to come over, we're just hanging out." And just kind of on social media, or then people just, calling, texting, just, checking on me, seeing how I'm doing, how's life, and, and just letting me know that, I think the biggest part was, just, saying that they missed me up there.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a real big motivation to get back up there.
No, I think that's important to point out, especially the personal calls. I mean, because they don't have to come in on a daily basis, not even a weekly, maybe twice a month. Don't bug somebody. But have your lodge page of way of communicating, whatever that is, get it out there. Make sure these EAs, even if they've gone past their year, are getting that info, because you never know when things change.
I think one of the awesome things when when I first started coming up there, and especially when I got initiated, was I got that handwritten letter from you, Rhit. And that, I mean, that was awesome. That was like, I don't think I've ever really gotten a handwritten letter from anybody. And my wife was like, "Hey, you got something from somebody named Rhit." And I'm like, okay. I'm like, what is he sending me? Opened it up, and it was just, like pretty much just, welcome to, the Brotherhood and glad to have you here. And I was just like, wow, this is, that meant more to me than, almost of the degree, just because, it showed what the Brotherhood was about and showed what Freemasonry was, that, you took the time out of your day to especially write a handwritten letter to thank somebody and, welcome them to this fraternity.
No, I got to echo the same thing. I still have my letter from.
Yep, I still do too.
It blew me away. I still have it. It meant so much.
It's funny
that someone would take the time to write to you and tell you how happy they were for you to be there. And after you're initiated, you kind of feel like, okay, well, I'm here, but am I really a part of this thing? Because, well, my apron's on a little different, and I'm doing all this work, and these guys are kind of teasing about the EA thing, which is great. You can't be serious all the time, but honestly, like that meant a lot. And if you're out there and you have the time, whether you're the secretary or not, you have time to send someone a handwritten letter, man. It really does speak volumes. And it's actually something I've put into my professional life. Now I write people letters after I work with them, just to thank them for their business and stuff like that. So
it takes a little bit of time, but where it kind of kicked off was when I started doing real estate. That's something that kind of went along, and I was like, wow, I need to bleed this into my personal life to where I do it for my kids all the time. And I found it in the bottom of my son's judo bag. There's like 3 handwritten notes that I've sent him. And I was like, these things are so powerful, and they don't take but a minute, to sit down and slap a stamp on it. Cause all we get in the mailbox nowadays is bills and, sales pitches.
Credit card offers.
You got it. Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of a dying art, and it is fun to hear, but when they get that in the mailbox or get it handed to them, it brightens their day. That's such a simple thing to do. So it's not a bad habit to pick up.
It can make a lot of difference. It can make a very big difference. Yeah. Especially
obviously,
if you have really good looking handwriting. And I mean, I know that sounds kind of silly, but if you have very elegant handwriting, it adds a lot to a handwritten note.
Oh, I take
is that a jab at me?
No, I'm not sure what your handwriting looks like.
It's horrible. Sometimes I have to reread it, or I've even thrown notes out and rewrote them, in
because you just look at it and you go, I don't know what I wrote.
I can barely read this myself. I'm not going to expect somebody else to read it.
I really have to slow it because a lot of mine is note taking. A lot of what I do is note taking, and I have so many abbreviations that I do just out of habit, that I reread the notes. I'm like, the B with the B with a C surrounding it is not going to mean anything. It's because in my notes, but no one else is going to get that. So I got to rewrite this whole thing. So handwriting can make a difference, guys.
Yeah. So, Omar, I had another question for you real quick, because you had mentioned you had originally come to the lodge in April and then were initiated sometime in August. So that puts like a 5.5 month span of not being a Mason, but continuing to come up there. And I want to hear a little bit about that process, if you remember, what it was like earning your petition per se.
I think it was almost like an accomplishment, because it was kind of like I look at it as like your real first test to be a Mason, because you had to you're not really necessarily doing work, but you're having to put the effort to show these guys that you really want to be a part of this. Yeah. And then, kind of opening up about yourself and letting everybody know, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is, kind of my viewpoint, and, this is, what my morals are. And, and the same token, you're trying to see, is this the right fit for you? Do these guys have the same beliefs or the same moral character as you? Or, And, are these guys that, you can hang around with, one day out of the week for the rest of your life. And I think what helped out a lot was Billy being out there and just hanging out with us and just talking to us. And I think we're kind of in a fortunate spot, being in Fort Worth, where there's so much history and so much Masonic history about our lodge, where, we would spend hours. And even after, everybody had left from lodge, sometimes we were up there for, another 30 minutes to an hour, just talking about, what Fort Worth 148 has done and what Masons have done in Texas. And, I'm a big history buff guy, and I love learning about the history and just kind of seeing, how Masonry has shaped and influenced people, and, and then just getting to know people on a personal level. When you first come up there, we sit at that big table, outside the lodge, and just, what has Masonry done for you? I think that was one of the biggest questions that I asked everybody, was like, what has Masonry changed in your life, or what has it made better? And just kind of, hearing the little personal stories from everybody about how Masonry has helped them in their life, and, kind of reflecting on, well, if it helped that person, there's a good chance that it might help me with that, or, that sounds like something that, I'm interested in and would like to learn more about, or, become a better person at.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So would you say that period of time that you spent there earning the petition, although there's much more to it than that, how did that add to your EA degree and your overall Masonic journey?
I think it added a lot, because once you actually got that petition and you filled it out and turned it back in, and then they told you, all right, this is the date that, we're going to initiate you. It's just kind of like you're right there at the finish line. And when you actually go through it, the guys already making you feel like you're a brother. They're always talking to you and, hanging out. Everybody knows you by first name. And, it's like you're right there. You can almost touch the finish line. So when you actually go through the initiation, and once it's all over, everybody congratulates you and everything, is just, it just meant more to me than, if I just showed up and y'all were like, okay, hey, nice to meet you. Your name's Omar. Here's a petition. Fill it out. Yeah. Your initiation's in 2 weeks. Getting to know everybody meant a lot to me, and, knowing who I was going to be around for, the rest of my life.
Yeah. So kind of in a sense, you knew in that degree who was working in your degree. You knew those guys on a first name basis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's important too. I mean, because I was there. I didn't know half the guys in my degree when I got my EA, and it's a little unnerving.
And I think it kind of helped me with, some of the parts of the degree, kind of when you came up to me and you were like, hey, are you going to be okay with this? I know you were in the military, Afghanistan and all this stuff. So, are you going to be okay? And I think that kind of helped me go through it a little bit more, of not knowing what I'm going into, because, I trusted everybody. I knew who everybody was. And, I knew nothing bad was going to happen to me in the degree, just because of the people who I was around.
Yeah.
And we knew you well enough to know that you had been in the military,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And may have issues with the part of the way you're prepped, so those kind of things are important. And again, creates that brotherhood there. Hearing that story, I can really see how that adds to it. Because when I came through years ago, it was just like, of course, my dad was a Mason, so I wouldn't have had to wait anyways. But I didn't know anybody but my cousin and my dad, So it wasn't nearly as special as it could have been.
To a certain extent, though, I would almost say, though, that not knowing people that are involved in your EA degree, especially for a very specific portion of the EA degree, is kind of cool.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, if you had a specific degree team that came in and, the candidate didn't know, that would add some real cool stuff to it, as long as he knew the majority. You know what I mean? He knew what he was getting into comfortably.
Right.
Kind of eased in, because I see where you're going, because I'm with you. Take any of the degrees and a voice you've never heard, all those kind of things, you're going to be lost in the degree more than you would be, hey, that's Rhit, or hey, that's Gabe. You wouldn't be thinking that. You'd be like, I don't know who any of these people are, and you'd be focused on what they're saying. So it'd be really awesome, actually. But in the same token, you the guy's got to know the people he's getting in, which is more important. If you've got enough guys to do that, great. If not, get to know the candidate. It's crucial.
Absolutely. Well, Rhit, do you have any more questions for Omar?
No, I'm good. I'm always intrigued to hear those kind of stories, especially one as unique as his, to where, had to change jobs in the middle of all of it and things came up. And, it's just a testament to what we're doing.
I think it's a great story. And Omar, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Really, Gabe and I kind of had the idea, Sunday night. So appreciate the short notice and really, really happy you came on to talk to us.
Oh, it was my pleasure, guys. And thank you for inviting me. And you are doing great work on this podcast.
And of course, feel free to stick around for the rest of the discussion too. You're welcome to
yes, sir.
This. But
no,
now it's
don't
time
hesitate.
now it's time to ask Rhit a lot of questions. So, Rhit, membership and retention. What is the problem? Like, if you wanted to summarize that for somebody in 2 or 3 sentences, what's going on?
For me, we're focused on the wrong thing. To where we have membership drive after membership drive. And those aren't bad things. Don't get me wrong. We should have, and I say membership drive, we do things like an open house or, whatever it may be, come up with a program like Between Friends to attract new members. But it comes down to a retention issue in my mind, because you can get as many new guys as you want, but what are they going to do when they get there? I know when I was first raised, after 15 meetings, there was nothing new under the sun that I was going to see. It was just the same stuff after, give or take 15 meetings or so. You'd seen it all.
So you after getting raised, you just kind of said, man, this is going to be, was it for you, was it more like this is going to be drudgery, or this is going to be like a comfortable sort of, sameness?
No, it was completely boring,
Guys, let's argue about bills.
And I didn't even really have a problem with that. I didn't have a problem with reading the minutes. I understood the necessity of the business meeting and all that. I'm one of those nerds that can watch C-SPAN, though, and enjoy it. So I didn't have a problem with that. But it was just like, if we weren't doing stated meeting, we might be doing a degree. But more than likely, we would do floor school. And I don't have a problem with any of that. A good lodge should do all of it. But that was it. We might hear a good story from Brother Sam if we were lucky. Otherwise, we're every Monday, same thing without deviation, that was the same stuff. There was especially no outside social activities. There was no education. I don't even know. There was just no deviation.
That's pretty brutal. And I mentioned, I was joking around like, hey, let's argue about bills. But, I was talking to a brother who his son was recently initiated, and he was talking with his son, like, hey, they're in different lodges, hey, like, how do you like your stated meeting? And his son said, man, I went to the first stated meeting as an EA, and they just argued about bills, and is it always like this? And I can't remember the exact conversation, but it was kind of an interesting perspective. Like, this guy gets initiated. It's such an incredible experience, and then boom, he gets stuck with the stated meeting as kind of his first experience of what a meeting looks like,
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking it would be really beneficial to tell brand new EAs, like brand new EAs, if you're a lodge that does a lot of EA degrees, hey, hold off on attending stated meeting until you go to another EA degree, something like that.
Well,
just
and in a sense,
a meeting that's not stated.
I'm with you, and because of course we're preaching to the choir, but most lodges don't doing that, and pushing EAs away when they argue about that. But the good lodge should tell the EA, hey, this is where we hash out our business, so don't expect a lot out of this. But like when I was first raised, we had to open the stated meeting in a master's degree. There was no question, you had to. So when that came up at Grand Lodge to be voted to open an EA, one of the past masters was like, well, what are these EAs going to have to work for anymore? And that just flabbergasted me. I was like,
hey, you're a master mason now. Here's your reward, a business meeting.
Yeah, stated meeting is your reward. And if that is the case, if you've got that mentality, what kind of reward is a business meeting? It is necessary.
Light bulbs, the light bulbs that we will buy. Everyone, are we going to go to Lowe's or Home Depot?
And if your lodge has got to hash things out to that kind of detail, so mote it be. But prepare your EA for that. Let them know that's a business meeting, and it's not necessarily Masonic in nature.
I would argue that your lodge should never have to hash that out in such detail during a business meeting, because ideally you would have assigned a committee to it and they would just return a report.
Yeah, now don't get me started. That's not a good business. But at the same token, some guys just got to get their wiggles out in front of a bunch of other guys to whatever causes them to do that. So
there are some Masons that will always be called to administrative work and running business meetings and things like that, and we need them too. But definitely, it can, for everybody else, it can get a little bit old.
You got it. So the past,
those are the guys you got to direct towards the committees, like the guys who really want to do administrative stuff, and that's where their passion lies.
So not EAs, basically.
No.
But who are we losing? So when it comes to retention, who are we bleeding out fastest on?
We're losing 9 of 10. We talked about on the last podcast, we have a 10% retention rate. So we're losing 9 of 10.
Well, I think the majority of who we're losing is it happens. I don't know if it happens equally or harder on the EA end, but you lose EAs or the masters. If they make it to Fellowcraft, they typically make it to master, and they will leave after that. After they see the redundancy of it. But you lose a big majority, almost over a third of the EAs we initiate don't progress.
Yeah, there's a joke about losing masters, right? So this lodge has the lodge has a rat problem, right? And they call in a bunch of exterminators and everything like that, and nothing works. They've had 5 exterminators come in, and eventually they reach out to one of the old past masters who's he's old and he's kind of homebound. So they bring him to the lodge. And they say, you're smart. You've been amazing. What do you do about rats in the lodge? And he says, get me a degree team. And so he spends the day, and then the next day, all the rats are gone. And they say, what did you do with the rats? And he says, well, I made them all Master Masons, and then they all bailed.
Well, I mean, it's the truth in a sense that that's the same thing I said earlier, that it's just redundancy, to where I was going to say earlier that past master that told me, if we change the stated meeting to EAs, what do they have to work for? While it's silly they should work up to the stated meeting, they should have something to work towards, to set them on their individual journey, something to look forward to be a master. Whatever you may come up with, we do the masters only Monday night meeting that, even when you get in there, it's not going to be great, knock your socks off, but it's going to teach you that it's an individual journey, and you gotta sink your teeth into this thing. But we're kind of there to do it together in a way on that masters only night, because we go from all the degrees, talking about all the degrees, to stuff that we can't even mention in public, because we're brothers. We have a good time. We say things that might be a little unkilter.
Yeah. Hey guys, this doesn't leave this room.
Zone.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, our masters meeting definitely is not a place to go if you lean towards the easily offended side of things.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because there is some high level discussion that happens there, but the high level discussion is also accompanied by a very extreme level of candor. So.
No, absolutely. And there's been very few that I have left from and not had something really hardcore to chew on for the next few days, if not weeks, that ultimately changes, the way I look or reinforces how I feel. So those are fun nights. It doesn't have to be that, it could be something else, whatever,
Sure,
but
once a month, the masters get together and have a cigar and have a discussion. Or,
you got it.
You have a master's barbecue or something that is where Master Masons can get together and talk about the philosophy and the degrees or life in a setting where you are among trusty brothers, that's a big way to keep people around. You know what? There's not a lot of places anymore where you can go say what you think in a true and open fashion and know that it doesn't leave the room.
And be ready for it to be tested and tried. That if you put something out there controversial, somebody very well may say, hey, wait a minute, what about this? And you're fine with it. You're not defending anything. We're all there trying to get better. So there's ways to, give those guys something to work for. But they should be warned about stated meetings, because even in the best of lodges, there's going to be moments where you hash out some details that got left behind that seem mundane. Those meetings are going to be boring, and they're business meetings. I know, and I've said it on other podcasts, they should be conducted as such, and your education should be done at a different night.
As far as the stated meeting goes, if a guy decides that he is never going to go to stated meeting, but he shows up for degree practices or social events or whatever, right? Personally speaking, I'm fine with that. If this is a guy that gets involved in the lodge and he's at all the called meetings, then that's awesome. He's involved, he's invested. He just hates business meetings,
Yeah.
And if there's a guy that only ever shows up to stated meetings, then that's also fine, because there's some people that do enjoy that, So,
more power to the guy who doesn't show up to stated meetings, right? At least
you got it.
Yeah, if he wants to participate in everything except for the stated business meeting that you have once a month, there's one of two things going on. You don't have Rhit Moore cooking the dinner, or he just finds it boring, and that's okay.
That's what I was going to say. The reward for coming to that business meeting is a good meal.
Don't have cold, guys.
Mm-mm.
Hey, cold pizza is delicious, sir.
Sir, cold pizza will drive me away very quickly.
Cold pizza is okay. Well, let me clarify that. Cold pizza for breakfast is good.
So, are you talking like counter temperature cold, or are you talking like you remember to put it in the fridge cold?
Either or. Is this the part where I get outed as being mildly gross?
No, it's okay, because I'll tell you what I prefer once you make your statement. Is it counter cold or fridge cold?
Fridge cold usually.
Usually, yeah.
Usually, yeah.
I don't know. I think the best cold pizza I ever had, one morning I woke up in the dorms and there was half a pepperoni pizza on the floor. The box was open, and that was just the most delicious pizza in the entire world. But other than that, it should be piping hot.
No, and you shouldn't be serving pizza at a stated meeting.
Well, I would say that, like, if you have a pizza oven, or a pizza stone, and you're making pizza from scratch, go for it. That's cool. I like that idea.
Yeah, gourmet pizza is different.
Yeah, but actually, what would be a cool group brother type event is everybody makes personal pizzas. Like, you get everybody together, you have a night where everybody makes like a 10-inch or 12-inch pizza, and everybody brings their own toppings and they share and make pizzas. I don't know. But yeah, so get people engaged. Food is a good way to do that. Stated meeting is an awesome opportunity to get people together over food. I particularly enjoy the act of cooking food for people and eating food that other people have cooked for me. To me, it is one of those things that fundamentally says, I trust this person, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
And not like, and I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this so it doesn't sound weird, but it's going to sound weird anyway. Cooking food for each other and eating food that you have that somebody else has cooked for you is kind of like an intimate sort of relationship, right? That's something you do with people you trust. So I think that's kind of a cool aspect to serving meals for brethren, because they trust you not to food poison them. So
no, and I mean, it's as simple as he's not going to pick his nose and make your enchilada. You know,
that's an interesting. I never thought of eating somebody else's food as a trusting. I can understand the personal connection, cooking for somebody else, but the trust part was something I never thought of before. Because if you guys can ask my wife, and I'm sure you will when you see her, literally, if you put food in front of me, I will not think about eating it. I will look at you and go, "Does it have mushrooms in it?" And if you say no, it's gone. I'm going to eat it. You know, I've never thought of it as a trust thing. I've thought about the intimacy part of cooking for others, but for me, it's never been a trust thing. It's always been, hey, there's food. I like to eat. It doesn't show it. I'm a tall guy, so it spreads out well. But I like to eat. Eating is a good thing.
So one of the things that I have heard very consistently from people that are involved in AMD, the Allied Masonic Degrees, right? Everybody that I've talked to who is involved in AMD, and this is not people in a group discussion, these are guys that I've talked to individually, at some point in time in the conversation about the Allied Masonic Degrees is, man, the dinners are awesome. You know, if you ever join AMD, you're going to love the dinners. And everybody in AMD says that, right? And it's one of the things that, I think 4 out of 5 of the brothers that I talked to, again, individually said, and my wife loves it too, right? And that was one of those cool things that it's like, yeah, because normally, we like to get wives and partners involved in the public functions and stuff like that, but it's not always a great success, right? But the thing that I've heard pretty consistently is that family members are also really enjoy the dinners that AMD puts on, and it's nice food, like really nice. People dress up in coat and tie. They serve, maybe steak or lobster or whatever, or maybe it doesn't even have to be that fancy, but apparently it's incredible. So,
well, what a great way to create value. I mean, come around a good meal at Lodge. There's your place to have a family dinner, where just everybody comes up, does a potluck or something or whatever, or maybe you have an intimate evening to where there's some kind of little concert and you all have a nice meal you prepare and you dress up. That's the opportunity we have at Lodge, and you can do those kind of things. Maybe you just want to have a fish fry at your lodge with all your buddies and their wives and kids. Let them run around the lodge room. Make it happen.
If you get somebody too fat to leave, then you definitely retain them.
There you go. Yeah.
He can't leave the lodge room. He's stuck.
I'm well on my way. No, I was looking at the Grand Secretary's report, and I think something that really speaks volumes. In 2016, we initiated 1,970 EAs and raised 1,192. So 778 guys dropped off.
Wow.
On that process, more than a third. And, thinking about that, I don't necessarily know that is a retention problem more than a guarding the West Gate problem. I think a lot of those 778 guys probably didn't have an idea of what they were getting into. They just got a petition, and
that may well have to do with it.
Yeah, but, I'm not going to say all of them, but there's a good portion.
There's going to be guys there that are right for Masonry, and Masonry is right for them. But if your lodge is not right for them, it doesn't matter if Masonry is not right. It is right for them,
That's true.
Because you got, once they're in through the door, we're the facilitators. We are the instrument through which the art or science or whatever of Masonry is conducted. And if we don't do a good job of that, whether especially through fellowship, then we're going to lose them, even if they would be perfect for it,
Yeah, absolutely. Because that was the first thing I have on my notes about retention, is that these new guys come in and it takes a while. They're really interested, obviously, because they've come up there on their own free will and accord. So they're not just going to turn around and leave. But after about 15 meetings, give or take, they're going to see that nobody's having any fun. And you go to most lodges and you see that, to where they're just like I talked about earlier. They're doing stated meeting, degrees, or floor school. And you come up there, it's almost like a robotical function. We're going to do this, and then we get out of there. And nobody's having any fun, where you go to a vibrant lodge, you see stated meeting, guys laughing, having a good time, planning their next whatever it may be to hang out, some real brotherhood going on. They're a lot more likely to stick around.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why, we've already mentioned it, the Masters Night, I really like that just because it's still a very constructive, organized sort of portion of lodge or whatever, and it creates valuable discussion and it stimulates the mind, but it's also very much just guys hanging out. One of the reasons why I like degree practices a lot better than floor school is that floor school tends to focus more on maybe the esoteric work or on a round-robin format for degrees. And actual degree practices, you're running around the lodge room, you're yelling, across the room like, hey, go stand in that corner or whatever. You're getting lost in the work. People are laughing sometimes, right? You'll be doing the circumambulation and you'll totally forget the questions or the answers or whatever, and everybody will take the opportunity to have a chuckle at your expense, and that's a lot of fun. So yeah, it's this real degree practices to me are an informal way to practice a very formal thing.
And the thing about a lodge that has, like we had at 148, to where we had the stated meeting, degree, floor school all in place, you've got the cornerstone of what takes a good lodge in place, because you've got to do those things. But there's just got to be a little bit more, even at a fundraiser can be a social event for the guys. Now, if it's the same fundraiser every year and it's become a monotonous event and you've got to do it for scholarship, make it happen, but you've got to plan something else to create that, that feeling, that foxhole feeling. That's like, that I like that guy, not only is he my brother, but I want to hang out with him.
Well, and
I think that's very true what y'all said about, you can't just have stated meeting and degree and that's all we do. And that's one of the things that I love about our lodge is that even though we do that stuff, we do kind of make it kind of fun. But then we have social hours, we hang out outside of lodge. And that's just another way to keep people interested and keep people coming back up there, is that, they almost kind of don't know what to expect when they go up to lodge. So it's almost like a brand new experience to them every time they step foot through that door, that, we're doing this fundraiser, or, we're cooking here, or we're going to the range, or, we're just going to go out and, just go downtown. Yeah, smoke cigars at somebody's house and hang out. That's the way you keep guys, is by involving the families and involving people other than just masonry. Yeah. Because it does get boring just doing degree after degree after stated meeting after degree.
Yeah, the one of the things that we did recently, Rhit posted on Facebook, like, hey guys, come by to the Moore compound, and we've got the smoker running. So people were just bringing meat and putting it in the lodge smoker, and we were all just hanging around, just goofing off, sitting in chairs and just talking about all sorts of things, and because it was a family event, we didn't really talk a lot about lodge-related stuff. And it's so nice when you're with brothers and you can just kind of veer off from lodge-related discussions, not because lodge-related discussions are boring, but because usually when you're with a group of brothers and only brothers, that's where the conversation tends to go. So it's kind of fun to gravitate towards other subjects,
Yeah, get to know guys.
Yeah, Echo. Yeah, there you go. You got to get to know each other. And just like the other night at Rhit's place, on the drive home, golly, the baby was grumpy, and we were driving home, and my wife had such a great time. It makes it easier when it's Monday night and I'm going out.
Mm-hmm.
She knows who I'm hanging out with. She knows, man, Gabe and Greg and Rhit and those guys are going to be there. And that's who Grant is choosing to spend his free time with. How much more comfortable is your wife with you being gone, knowing who you're hanging out with, and how that makes it so much easier for me to be there and for me to keep coming, because she knows that the people I'm spending time with are good people. They're people who care about each other. It adds value, and it keeps guys around. if they're coming around and you're leaving the house and folks don't know who you're hanging out with, man, how much crap are you gonna get when you get home? What are you out doing? What are you guys? Are y'all sacrificing goats? I saw something online about goats, and if you're out there killing goats, I'm gonna be mad because goats are cute, and you should not be harming goats.
So I had my phone out because I was looking at the notes for the episode, and I dropped my phone when you said the thing about the goats.
I think it's a great opportunity for our wives, because I know my wife and your wife, Grant, they spend a good time making fun of us for our podcast, and how nerdy we are for it. And those are such great moments
my
for our wives.
You guys are such total hopeless geeks.
Yeah.
She won't listen. She's like,
I don't blame her.
On the phone, but she's like, she's like, you're so out there, and it's such. She goes, you might as well be talking about Star Trek. I was like, I could tell you a podcast about
Don't get me involved in this, because I'll jump on board without hesitation.
Oh man, you want to do a podcast about Star Trek?
Nope, please don't do this to me.
Coming next week, Trekking It with the Master Masons, Gabe and Grant Gates.
Oh man,
ready to rock! It's happening.
So anyway, back to the discussion of membership retention.
Yeah. So to jump back on topic, I said, EAs come in and they don't see anybody having any fun, and they bolt. So you have some guys that'll stick it out all the way to the masters, and they become a master mason, do their proficiency, and they're like, okay, now what? And then they get a horde of people. It's like, okay, we need you to be junior deacon, senior deacon. And they see a bunch of guys doing what they have to do to keep the lodge functioning. And that's basically all that's going on. They may even get involved in that and run through the lineup. And then past master's disease sets in, because once you're on that sideline, you're just basically a voting member. That's it. That's all they're doing.
Well, and if it's hey, like, we want you to be junior deacon, or we want you to be junior warden or whatever, because we need somebody to do that, then that doesn't necessarily give that position a lot of prestige to the individual. You want to kind of look at those as like, oh man, this is so cool that I get to do this, right? They could have picked anybody, and I'm the one that gets the enjoyment and the honor of having this position.
Yeah.
But if it's like, hey, our lodge is, we've got, only a few members that want to go through the line. Because even if you have a larger group of people, there's maybe not a lot of people that want to actually be officers, right? So you don't want to do something because you feel obligated to.
No, you want to do it because you want to do it, because that's another one of my notes I've got down, is that, they see guys doing what they have to do, and there's no inspiration. There's no zeal permeating off of them that's contagious. They're doing what they got to do, and it shows, kind of thing. And more power to them, because somebody has to. We all get our turn running through the chairs. But there has to be somebody somewhere that's doing something at lodge that they love so much that it's contagious.
Yeah.
Where somebody's like, I want some of that. Whether it be degree work, maybe somebody really likes being an officer and it's contagious. It's possible. They love administration stuff. Maybe it's the guy planning the social events. Maybe it's the guy that's, just comes up to lodge to hang out with other guys. There's got to be that freedom.
Yeah, I mean, if you let guys do, and I've said this before, if you let guys do what they want to do, and you let masonry be what you want masonry to be, it's going to drive retention, because guys are going to come back. Because I can go up there and I can sit down and I can have an esoteric talk, or I can go up there and I just hang out and talk with guys and get my social input, or, hey, you know what? I don't really enjoy lodge or degree work, but golly, I sure do love social events. And this is a world that it is hard to make friends in anymore. People are not as trusting. So here's a group of people that I can trust to be friends with. Those type of things are going to drive retention through the roof, especially with your young guys, when they see that, hey, this group of brothers cares about each other, and they all they're all doing something they're passionate about. They found a passion within the lodge. I think that's a huge driver on the retention end. That's to me that's everything right there is passion.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, whether we like it or not, we all kind of fall in the see monkey do category, to where if everybody's up there just doing what they got to do to keep the lodge doors open, there's not a lot of fun and value in that, and they're going to bolt. But if there's something that they enjoy and see other people enjoying, and they're like, man, I'm going to get into that.
Yeah, and then additionally, there's also the possibility that you may not lose a master to this, but if you have a guy that gets raised and whatever, and he gets involved in appendant bodies, the conversation that we've had on the podcast before, if you find that Shrine is your passion, or Scottish Rite is your passion, or York Rite is your passion, or Tall Cedars, or whatever, right? And you go and you decide to invest all your Masonic time in that, that's totally fine too. So sometimes you will have guys that poof disappear from lodge, but not for a bad reason. They found something else that they really want to get involved in and are really passionate about. So
absolutely, and we've got to tear those walls down, because now that I'm kind of I see it or have come accustomed to it, I see it more. Of all the walls that are built, it's like, yeah, that guy's always at Scottish Rite, he's always at Commander, he never comes to Blue Lodge, and it's like, was he making the world a better place? Then he's a good Mason.
And a lot of, and I would say that the vast majority of guys that are really involved in their appendant bodies are also really involved in their blue lodges. So it's not, I feel like it's not as big of an issue as people feel it is often, but it's one of those things where noticeable examples of a minority population of guys that go off and do only this, right?
Yeah.
It's a small minority of guys that tend to be very visible because people notice them. They're like, hey, there's that guy. Who is he? Oh, he's in our lodge. Why? Oh, he's always at appendant body X, right?
Yeah.
So the guys that do that tend to, I feel, people notice that more than the guys that are always at Blue Lodge and always at their appendant bodies, right? Because I think people pick up on things that they view negatively more, right? But even then, the guy that's not at Blue Lodge and is at whatever body instead, like you said, he's making the world a better place in his own way. So,
and the raw and that doesn't show up in the raw numbers of the losses that we're seeing. The number part, they still show up as a Blue Lodge Mason. So it doesn't necessarily show up in the numbers. But like you said, Gabe, when it's somebody that maybe you haven't, guys haven't seen in 6 months come to a stated meeting to hang out, people notice it because it's a little bit different, right? It's a different face. And so they notice it, and then it's, hey, well, he's spending a lot of his time in whatever appendant body. And I don't know if there's a way to say that people wouldn't take negative, right? Hey, he's spending his time in X appendant body. Oh, so he doesn't care about this. Well, no, that doesn't mean that at all. It just means that, hey, maybe he found a group of guys he fit in better with over there. Or maybe there's something over there that's driving his passion, whether it's charity or whatever it may be. He's still being a good Mason. It has nothing to do with the character of the Mason.
Yeah. And I mean, if you pull it down, let's face it, there's not at Blue Lodge, there's not a lot of interesting things going on at the base of it. We do ritual work, we teach floor school, we teach the memory work. Other than that, there's not a lot that's officially involved in our fraternity.
If you did only stuff that happened, like if you defined Blue Lodge as it was defined in the monitor and did only that, it'd be a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there are only so many things a Blue Lodge can do and do it well, no matter how you cut the mustard. So you take an organization like the Shrine that has all these different clubs that you can be a part of that will just fit your personality to a T. What's wrong with that?
Yeah,
there's nothing.
It's the face value, right? It's the face, or maybe not face value, but maybe base value, right? So Blue Lodge has this base value that most of our value is not conveyed through the base value of Blue Lodge. Well, that's a different discussion, and that may be a vast overstatement on my part. But you look at stuff like the Shrine, and you look at stuff like Scottish Rite and York Rite and all these other ones, the base value of those is immense. Because just going off of what they have for degrees and what they have for meetings and stuff like that, there's just so much more to those than there is to Blue Lodge. So then once you start filling those in with the extra stuff, you've got a very full experience. Where Blue Lodges have to rely more on, I guess, improvisation and creativity and stuff like that, which is not to say that you don't need creativity for appended bodies, but there's a lot more work involved in creating value because there's more existing base value in the other ones. I don't know. I feel like
they're
I'm
built
not
for
saying
that.
this correct.
No, I got your point, because Blue Lodge is built to make the man better, and it's an individual journey to where those groups are built in another manner to where it's a group function. It's a social function. It's a different animal when you're talking about the appendant bodies as opposed to Blue Lodge. Mm-hmm. So it's very easy for me to see how someone could get bored with it and move on, and it's just fine. The only reason we should feel like we failed is if they go through the Blue Lodge degrees and don't act like a Mason when they go to an appendant body. That's where we've got room to complain, and I don't see that happening a whole lot. Most of these guys, like you said earlier, they're either involved in their Blue Lodge a little bit, or they're fantastic men standing out on the corner in their Shrine hat getting money for kids in a hospital. Mm-hmm. How in Lord's name can we say you need to spend more time in Blue Lodge when they're out doing such a noble cause? And same thing with the Scottish Rite, raising money for the hospital that they have. Take your pick. All the appendant bodies have things that speak to guys. I mean, the Knights Templars, I know a lot of military guys that really like that cadence and things they do with their swords and all that, awesome, more power,
And even us non-military guys, now that I've gone through the orders, I can totally see where all the hype for Commandery comes from.
You got it. I knew your taco hat was on order.
Yep, I got to get one. I want the taco hat.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm using the incorrect terminology. Furry taco hat.
Furry taco.
Yeah.
That sounds a little risque. We'll stick with taco hat.
Well, and guys, you could look at it as the appendant bodies help with retention because it gives guys an outlet that they may not be able to find in Blue Lodge. Blue Lodge just can't provide.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
They help with retention. So we're not hurting each other. Mm-hmm. We're helping each other. And most of those appendant bodies require that you're up to date with dues. And if you want to be a dues paying member at your Blue Lodge and you found your passion somewhere else, you're still being a Mason. So I think the standard statement is that it hurts Blue Lodge. I think it helps Blue Lodge. It keeps guys around. And
for anybody that's listening who's an independent body and is kind of concerned about what we're saying, don't worry about this because, for example, I'm a member of appendant bodies, and I agree with most of what we're saying on tonight, and what Grant's saying about increasing retention and maintaining retention. That's definitely, I think that's true for sure.
Yeah, because I think if a guy comes through and gets this straight to the appendant body and never comes back, that's not a retention issue. He's considered a retained Mason. You know what I mean? Even though he's active in an appendant body and not in your Blue Lodge, he's still, of course, paying dues, supporting financially, but is practicing the tenets of Masonry in an appendant body of our craft. So those guys are still retained Masons. You did your job. Kudos.
Rock on, worthy brother. Go do you.
Do what you do. Exactly.
Yeah, just like every other conversation I think we've had on similar topics. Do you guys go have fun
with no apologies? Because if you start doing something in Masonry for somebody else or to fix it or whatever, you're gonna get browbeat and you're gonna get burnt out.
Yeah, the way to fix, to me, the way to fix, if you want to talk about retention and you feel like Masonry somehow needs a fix, just have fun. find a way to have fun with what you're doing. Besides work and family obligations, pretty much masonry is the only other thing I do. And the reason I dedicate so much time to it is because I have fun. That's what I'm doing. I'm having fun with my brothers. If you're not having fun, man, what are you doing? And if no one in your lodge is having fun and you're worried about a retention issue, man, start there.
Make it fun.
Do some fun stuff,
You got it.
Yeah. Go have a blast doing something. Have a movie night. Go, like we mentioned, go to the range. Go do something that everyone, not necessarily everyone in the lodge, but that a good chunk of brothers can really enjoy. And if you're going to do something that some guys don't enjoy, well, maybe that other section of guys can go do something they enjoy. Let's break off. The skydivers go skydive. The gun shooters go to the range, and the cigar smokers, well, y'all sit there and watch the brisket. We'll be back.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And then when it's time to suit up and do something serious, I could agree. We're all on the same page, and we take that stuff serious, and then we go back to having fun again.
Amen.
I think that's important. So I know we're going long, but I think we'd be remiss to not pull up the statistics we talked about before we came on the podcast. From where were they on? My computer froze. So the Masonic membership statistics. Do y'all still have that pulled up?
Did you post it to the chat?
No.
Then I do not have that pulled up.
Hold on. Let me post that to the chat real quick. Because I find it interesting that they started for Masonic membership in 1924, 3,077,161 members in 1924. So, and this is nationwide, U.S. total. We hit our peak in 1959 with 4,103,161 members. That's 1959. Fast forward to 2015, which is the date we have on record, 1,161,253.
Wow.
So,
we can contribute part of that to the death rate. I think contribute a good chunk of the boom to not only the baby boom, but guys coming out of the military, and because there's heavy military participation, and you're going to see guys tend to gather with a group experience like that. So,
well, because from 1924 to 19 was an increase in membership, there was still a lot of deaths going on in that point too, but they were still growing.
They were just growing faster
than they were losing. Exactly. So what is that? That's like almost 30 years. 35 years difference. 1924 to 1959, they had like 1 million. They added 1 million members, more or less, give or take a few, in that 30 years, right around there. So by that standard, in today's time, we should have over 6 million if that same rate of increase had happened, because they were losing members to death and suspension back then, but they were adding members as well. But somewhere along the way, the connection was lost, from generation to generation. Whatever happened. Because that's not a retention rate. That's a not joining rate. That's the membership problem that we, that everybody likes to point to. And whether it's a problem or not, I'll argue that, because what is the proper number of members you're supposed to have in your lodge? Is there a right or wrong number? You know what I mean? We're gauging our numbers are wrong because we can't afford the buildings that, okay. But that doesn't mean we have a problem with membership. It means we got a money problem.
And
so
into the dues discussion, which is a topic I don't really feel like touching with a 20-foot stick. That's the thing is that, is the natural, should we have kept growing at that rate, or is Masonry destined and supposed to have lower numbers compared to society and compared to what we've seen in the past, or is it supposed to be a large, huge organization like we saw? Our lodge had over 2,100 members at one point. Is that what it's supposed to be? Or is it supposed to be a lodge of 50 to, 100 guys? And it's 1% of your population.
And it's that question, do we need that many members? I don't know.
And if you want to make the argument that we need them to pay for the, can't argue that. But do we need them to practice good masonry? I can argue that all day.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know. I would find more value in a lot of 50 active, connected brethren who care about each other and enjoy each other's company. I found a whole lot more value in that than a lodge that would have 250 members at every stated meeting that don't know each other's names. So that's a personal opinion, but I'd rather pay more to keep my building open with 50 guys that I love and care for than pay a minimum due and show up and have a giant group of people there.
Yeah. There's pros and cons to it both, no doubt. But there is something, obviously, we are in different times. I'm not going to say that we're in problematic times, because maybe we're not supposed to have that large a membership. Who knows? Because what we got going at our lodge is great, but it's growing. We had our first increase in membership last year since 13 years that I've been a Mason. And I know well before that, we've just been on a steady decline, and it was our first year of increase. Our average age went from 79 or 78 years old to 64. 14-year drop in 3 years.
And what years was this? What years was
this? Was I did the average age. It was like 4 years ago that I did it. And our average age of members of our lodge was 78.4 or 6 or something like that. Almost 79 years old of all the members. So I just did it again the other day after we've initiated, and we had an increase of 1. I know that's small, but it's still an increase. So we've initiated a lot of younger guys, and our average age dropped from 78 point whatever to 64.
That's just impressive.
It's phenomenal. I mean, it can be done. So it's possible. And speaking of increase and decrease, the guys that are listening, if you Google Masonic membership statistics, it's on the Masonic Service Association of North America. It breaks down each state who had increases and who had decreases. And I think, what did we say? There was 2. Let's see, there's Hawaii. They increased their numbers, 13 members. Who else? Massachusetts. Yep, 1497. Wisconsin. Look at them. So
msana.com/msastats.asp. You can burn some time here and draw a lot of conclusions.
You got it.
Absolutely.
So what state has the most Masons according to this? Is that Pennsylvania? And am I saying that right? With 100...
it should be Pennsylvania, I think, right?
Yeah.
Pennsylvania with over 100,000.
101. They lost 3,482. So we lost 4,327 and now have a total membership of 74,507 according to their totals.
For 2015.
That is
2015.
Guys, we've lost the most Masons in 2015.
Wow, we didn't we?
Yeah, Ohio was second with 4,307.
Wow. And Ohio's, no, you don't. Ohio's does the one-day class a lot too, I think. Interesting stuff. Yeah, go check those stats out. See the decline in membership. Come to your own conclusions on that, whether that's a problem or not.
Right on. Well, do we want to wrap this up then?
I think it's...
Yeah, that's time.
I think we're
where I
running
want to
super
stop
late.
the discussion is a different story. We could probably go on a little while longer, but everyone out there is probably sick of hearing us talk at this point.
Yeah. Well,
They haven't turned it off.
It's a good spot to
This
wrap
has been
up.
a special episode, so that's because we did interview format with a special guest, as opposed to just discussion. But yeah, Omar, thanks for being on here. We really appreciate you being on here. So,
Omar, you were awesome, man. Thank you.
Hey, thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet.
let's talk events. On April 22nd, King Solomon Masonic Lodge 1427 at 16 East Central Avenue in Temple, Texas is holding a fundraiser. They're going to be running it from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. They'll be serving lasagna, salads, and beverages. Meals are $8 a person, and dessert is $2. So again, April 22nd, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., 16 East Central Avenue in Temple. April 29th, Lions Lodge Jr. is doing a custom car and bike show in Austin at 10 a.m. It's at the George Washington Carver Museum at the Cultural Center in Austin. Entry is $25. Registration is at 10 a.m. and judging begins at high 12. There are door prizes and a free t-shirt with entry, so call 512-845-5549 for more info. April 29th, Huffman Masonic Lodge 1428 is having a clay shoot at the Clay Mound Sporting Center in Liberty, Texas. Registration is at 8 a.m. Start is at 9. All cards must be in at 3 p.m. for the 4 p.m. awards. Lunch is included, and there will be a silent auction. 100 clays are going to be $90 a shooter, and mulligans are $5 a pop for a max of 4 mulligans. There's this thing called the Teal of Terror that's $10 an attempt. I don't know what a Teal of Terror is, but it's $10. The highest overall award is a custom belt buckle, and there's varying awards for different age groups, like gift cards and regular belt buckles and other kind of stuff. So that'll be a lot of fun. May 6th, Chalk Mountain Lodge 894 is holding a fish fry fundraiser from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Tickets are $10 for adults and $5 for children 10 years or under. All proceeds are going to the Chalk Mountain Lodge Charitable Works Fund. If you want to join them, the event is happening at 244 South Columbia in Stephenville. On April 22nd, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Arlington Masonic Lodge 438 is hosting an open house and family fair. There's going to be arts and crafts. There's going to have tables of items from local vendors. They're going to have a chili cook-off and a ton of other stuff. They're at 1415 West Abrams Street in Arlington. On May 20th, you guys have heard me talk about this already, but it's the Oklahoma Indian Degree Team in Garland, Texas. The MWSA of Masonic District No. 9 and East Fork Lodge 650 are hosting a Master Mason's degree conferred by the Oklahoma Indian Degree Team. That's Saturday, May 20 at 1 p.m. Following the 11:30 a.m. lunch. That's going to be at the Black Horse Barn at Hella Shrine, 2121 Rowlett Road in Garland, Texas. Tickets are $25, and you can get them at eventbrite.com, eventbrite.com.
Bring your own peace pipe.
Yeah, well, yeah. And so bring your dues card, though, for sure, and bring a photo ID. So I'm going to that. It's going to be awesome. Let's see, temple events. At 1100 Henderson Street, which is where we are, on Monday, April 24th, Brother Roberto Sanchez is coming to the temple at 6 p.m. to speak on the True Masonic Experience. Brother Sanchez is a Masonic speaker and author who has lectured all over the U.S., Canada, Latin America, and Europe. This event is open to all regular Masons, including Entered Apprentices and Fellowcraft, so please join us if you can make it. Monday, April 24th, 6 p.m. And on Monday, May 1st, Fort Worth 148 is putting on another Master Mason's degree at 6. And so this time, Omar, you can watch it without having to be bewildered by what's going on. So if you're a Master Mason and you're free on the evening of Monday, May 1st at around 6 p.m. or so, come on by. It's going to be awesome. I love Master's degrees.
I think, Omar, we got a part for Master's degree. I think he'd make a perfect... There's a specific role he would be perfect at.
I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I think I know.
Because if we have another big guy like Omar, we wouldn't have to worry about it if he were in that certain role. we were worried about you, Omar, whether Brian was capable or not.
So, yeah.
I can say that all of y'all definitely got to work out.
Yeah. So, but as always, Fort Worth 148 meets on the second Monday of each month, starting dinner at 6 p.m. for a 7 p.m. stated meeting at 1100 Henderson Street in Fort Worth, Texas. And I can tell you that our stated meetings are actually rather enjoyable. So, yeah. But if you want to get in contact with us, reach out to us at fortworth148.org or at Fort Worth Lodge 148 on Facebook or info148 at fortworth148.org.
Yes. And I know you had mentioned last time 64th District Lodges submitting their events to the 64th.org. Let's keep that going. If you don't have to be an officer to do that. If you know your lodge is doing something, it's simple, easy. Just go to 64th.org, submit event, bam, it gets added on. You might even end up on the podcast. Gabe, did you have a quote in particular, or do you want me to?
I do not have a quote prepared.
So this is one that I read when I was a youngster. I have it posted in my bedroom here because we had mentioned that, we have a membership problem, and it's like right throughout our fraternity. Everybody parrots that back because we've been told that so many times, and now we believe it. So the quote I got's by Henry Sidney. He was a philosopher, and it goes, "We think so because all other people think so, or because after all, we do think so, or because we were told so and we think we must think so, or because we once thought so and think we still think so, or because having thought so, we think we will think so."
You're just trying to mess with me at this point, aren't you? That's a great quote, actually.
The whole point of that quote is to not only question those things that other people are telling you, but question what you believe and why you believe it. If you think we do have a problem in the fraternity, really boil it down and figure out why you think we have that problem. Not because somebody or another is preaching it. They may feel that way. That's great. But you go find the facts to back it up. Or prove otherwise. Not just because the guy in the white coat says so. I guess we'll wrap it up here. This is Rhit Moore signing off.
Grant Gates signing off.
Gabriel Jagush signing off.